I'm Phyllis. I live in my van. Hello, my tribe. Well, you know me, I'm Phyllis, and I live in my van. I've been living in my van for about 2 years, and maybe you're thinking about being a nomad too. You've watched a lot of videos, you've done your research, you've thought about what kind of rig you want to get, and you've listened to some of my previous videos where I said, don't do what I did. I sold my house with nothing ready and threw some stuff in the back of my pickup and checked into a hotel and lived in my hotel for like 5 or 6 days until I found a rig. So you are planning a lot better than I did. So I know you're being smart and you're gonna do a practice trip before you make huge changes in your life, before you sell your house or your car, or quit your job or whatever. So you're planning and you're getting ready for your first practice trip for a weekend. It is hard at first being a nomad. I think my first 2 months were pretty bumpy, and the more you can plan ahead, the better that first bit's gonna be, because it's hard at first. It just is. This video is for you to plan your first weekend trip. You'll probably have already heard most of these things, and maybe you've already known them, maybe you've already been camping a lot, but I just want to go over some of the basics to help you get started on your first trip. I also want you to remember, first and foremost, that you're going to be relying on yourself. You'll have people that you can call if you need help. You'll have resources, you got AAA or whatever, but don't think that you can just go next door and borrow a cup of sugar, because next door might be a couple miles away. I want you to make sure that you have everything that you'll need for your weekend practice trip of being a nomad. One more thing also, if you've never even been camping and your idea of roughing it is a Super 8, I want you to try this first in your driveway in your own car. Set up your car, lean it back, however you can figure out how to make a bed, bring some snacks and your cell phone, watch some videos, and just try to sleep in your car or whatever kind of vehicle you have. And that way, if you get, if you forgot something and you need to, you can go inside the house. So I would especially recommend that for people who are not campers and just aren't used to not sleeping in a regular bed, frankly. And again, y'all, I know I'm not telling you stuff that you haven't seen in other places, but I've been thinking about the meetup that I was gonna have in Quartzsite, and so maybe some of y'all are thinking about that and planning ahead. So I just wanted to make kind of a little checklist for y'all, and maybe it'll just help to see the same thing you've already seen again and again, so you'll really internalize it. But of course, you're going to need first your vehicle. If you have a car that the seat will lean back almost all the way, and a lot of them will, then you can probably do that. Or if you're a little shorty like me, maybe you can sleep in the back seat. If you've got a pickup, maybe you're going to be brave and sleep in the back of your pickup, especially if you have a shell. If you don't have a reliable vehicle, or you don't picture your van life being a car, so you just don't think it's practical for you, you can rent a cargo van at most car rental places. And of course, U-Haul has box trucks, so you could rent a vehicle if you wanted to for a weekend. I'm sure it wouldn't be very much money. So if you could all use your own vehicle just to cut down on expenses for your practice trip, I would recommend doing that. But also go rent something. It'll cost you less money in the long term to plan ahead. You're gonna need a bed. Clearly this is obvious, but I have to mention it. This is my bed. You won't have probably a bed like this on your practice run. But it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like I said, if you can lean back your your car seat and sleep there. That works. If you want, get one of those self-inflating air mattresses. Those can be actually really, really comfortable. If you rent a cargo van or something like that, throw your mattress in the back. You don't have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on this weekend, on your practice trip. You're going to need a way to bring water, and I think water is probably the most important factor. It may not be the biggest factor for you on the weekend, but I want you to really consider how important it is when you're full-time. I think it's recommended like 1 to 4 gallons a day for nomads. I use probably about 2 gallons of water a day, and that it's going to depend on well, how much water you personally need, if you're going to need to be washing yourself every day, if you have a pet that you're going to be bringing with you. But I think 1 or 2 gallons a day is going to be enough for you. You can just buy, those plastic jugs at the grocery store, or what I do is I'll keep an empty milk jug and just rinse it out and use that for water. So you definitely need to be planning on water. That's one of the very, very important things in van life. Of course, food. Food's very important. For this first trip, I'm not going to ask you to try to cook because it's just your first trip, and you're going to be doing another week-long trip after this one, after your practice run, where you really get down and dirty, you go farther out. But this time, I mean, if you have a camp stove and you're used to using it, by all means bring it. But for everybody else, if this is your first time, I don't want you to worry about cooking, but I do want you to bring a cooler, because when you're on the road, you're really going to have to think about storing food. And if you don't have a plug-in refrigerator, you're going to have to use a cooler. So you don't have to get something really big, but a cooler and some ice, and bring stuff to make sandwiches. Please don't make them ahead of time, because I want you to really figure out how you're going to prepare food in your vehicle, and whether or not that's going to be something that gives you trouble in the future. Because this trip isn't just about what to bring and how to do it. It's really deciding, well, helping you decide, do I really want to be a nomad? Do I really want van life? And is it right for me? And also, you're going to figure out stuff that's an issue that you never would have thought about before. So I really want you to prepare some kind of food, whether it's cooking or not. I want you to prepare food while during your weekend planning trip. So sandwiches if you want, or bring leftovers, but I want you to bring everything so you can make all your own food for that weekend. No cheating, running to Starbucks. That's not gonna happen, because you're gonna be a good little boy or girl. So bring everything you're gonna need, even if it's just sandwich meat, cheese, for a weekend. So that's part of your assignment. Don't forget, if you want milk or juice or adult beverages, to bring those with you also, and your water, and you're good for that. Depending on where you are in the country when you make your first weekend trip, you have to think about the temperature. It's gonna probably get cold or hot inside your vehicle. So I want you to really think about that. If you're in the winter somewhere, or if it's just cold, even if it's not winter, it tends to get cold at night, which you don't really notice when you're inside of a sticks and bricks. But I want you to bring blankets. I want you to bring several blankets. I want you to bring at least one more than you think you'll need. And think about, if it's hot where you are on this trip, I want you to think about how you're going to be living outside of your vehicle on that weekend. So you might want to bring a camp chair so you can sit outside, especially if you're in a small sedan. Here's a big one, y'all. Y'all, especially the ladies, I want you to figure out a way to pee in your vehicle. Even if you're gonna go to a campground and not disperse camping, I want you to be able to pee inside your vehicle. And especially if you're a lady of a certain age, as I am, I have to get up once or twice a night, sometimes more honestly, to pee. And even if I'm near a bathroom, which is rare, I would not want to go outside in the middle of the night, mostly because of coyotes. But I feel safer not going outside in the middle of the night. So you've got a couple of options. Guys, of course, you can just go outside and pee. I'm going to leave the pooping for trip number 2, practice trip, but I want you to figure out a way to pee inside your vehicle. If you want, you can go ahead and get a funnel, ladies, if you want, like mine, or, well, I won't go into too much detail, but I'm sure you could figure something out. But I want you to be able to pee, even if it's not inside your vehicle, just to go outside and squat. I want you to be able to not rely on a regular bathroom. This is a really, really, really big part of being a nomad, is not having bathrooms. Unless you end up with an RV with tanks and everything. If you want to live in a van or a smaller vehicle, you don't want to buy a big RV that has tanks. You're going to have to get used to the fact that you're not going to be using a regular toilet. So on this trip, I want you to figure out a way to pee either inside or just outside of your vehicle. This is really important, especially the ladies. You're not going to want to do it. If you want to be a nomad, come on. You can do it, girl. If I can do it, you can do it. I want you to make sure your phone's charged before you leave your home. Now, clearly this is not going to help you when you're a nomad, but since this is your first trip, start out with that phone all the way topped up. Bring your charger. But just in case, make sure it's fully charged up before you go. Whenever you're outside your rig on this planning weekend, I want you to have your phone on you all the time, just in case something happens. Nothing's going to happen, but just in case. I want you to tell someone you know that you're going to be taking this little trip, and just tell them you would like to check in on, you would like for them to, I would like for you to tell someone, you know, if you would like to, that you're taking this trip, and maybe they can just call you and check in on you once. I think that's more for your peace of mind, and maybe your families than anything else, because nothing's going to happen. You've left your house before, girl. Come on, please. This is nothing. This is nothing. So this is going to be great, or it won't. It's going to be bumpy. It just is. I really don't want you to get discouraged if you run into some problems. If you get too discouraged in the middle of it, honey, just go back home. Just go back home and then try again next month. This is not a do or die test. This is just to figure stuff out, just to figure out whether you'd like to do it or not, what you need. This is not a make it or break it. So don't get discouraged if it didn't go perfect. And in fact, the more bumps you have, actually the more you're going to get out of it, the more you're going to learn about stuff that you're really going to need on the road. So don't get discouraged. I hope you've gotten something out of this video. And next time we're going to be talking about your big trip. So after you get your first trip under your belt, and by the way, if that first trip doesn't go perfect, you can have a second first trip. The second first trip on a weekend. So next time I'll be talking about what I want you to do on your big 1 to 2 week practice trip on being a nomad. I love y'all. Thanks so much for being here. Please consider liking this video if you did like it, and consider subscribing. It really does help my videos get seen. And I love y'all so much. Thank you. Bye. And Buddy says bye. He's outside.
Oh, true love of mine. I can no longer